The US government has begun a Christmas-time shutdown. After Congress adjourned without passing a federal spending bill or addressing President Donald Trump's demand for money to build a border wall. Operations for several key agencies have been officially halted. Here's CGTN's Toby Muse.
Trump is demanding $5 billion to build a wall along the border with Mexico in an effort to stop illegal immigration and drug trafficking. The promise of a wall was central to Trump's 2016 election campaign, except he said Mexico would pay for it. The House approved that money, but the Senate would not follow suit.
There's nothing we can do about that because we need the Democrats to give us their votes. Call it a Democrat shutdown, call it whatever you want.
Now the shutdown is beginning. 800,000 federal workers will face furloughs or have to work without being paid. The following federal departments will be shuttered: Treasury, Agriculture, and Homeland Security. The two sides spent Friday blaming each other as the midnight deadline to fund the government passed. Democrats pointed out that 1 week ago, Trump had embraced a shutdown to get what he wants.
The president is doing everything that he can to shut the government down. Doesn't he know that the economy is uncertain? Hasn't he followed the stock market that he likes to brag about sometimes? There's something wrong with this picture, especially in the holiday season.
And we may be seeing the consequences already. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped Friday nearly 2%, and the Nasdaq fell 3%. A shutdown is likely to add to the impression of a government in crisis. Trump's ministers keep quitting, the stock market is declining, and politics remains divided. Toby Muse, CGTN, Washington.
Well, the US government has partially shut down after lawmakers missed a deadline for approving a spending bill. President Donald Trump and Congress could not agree on the $5 billion bill for a border wall between the US and Mexico. The Democrats say there are more effective solutions to border security, but Trump refused to sign a bipartisan stopgap bill to avert the shutdown.
It was one of Donald Trump's most divisive election promises, a wall running the 3,000-kilometer length of the border between the US and Mexico to keep illegal migrants out of America. Trump still insists the wall is needed to counter drug smuggling, human trafficking and gang violence.
Our great country must have border security. We don't want people coming in that aren't supposed to be here. The only thing that's going to stop that is great border security with a wall or a slat fence or whatever you want to call it. But we need a great barrier.
On his Twitter feed, Trump says the fortification would be totally effective while at the same time beautiful. But US lawmakers are not convinced. Democrats and Republicans failed to reach agreement on funding the government. Democrats held out against Trump's demand for $5 billion to pay for the wall.
I don't think there is any appetite for funding a border wall that national security experts unanimously say wouldn't make our border safer.
Around a quarter of the US federal government has gone into shutdown. The Senate and House of Representatives are due to reconvene at midday in Washington in the hope of averting a full-scale crisis over the holiday period.
For the fourth time this year, the Fed has hiked its benchmark interest rate up from 2.25% to 2.5%. Its chairman, Jerome Powell, cited the robust economic situation in the U.S. as the reason for the move.
Thanks very much for being here today. 2018 has been the strongest year since the financial crisis, and during that period, we've had low unemployment and strong growth, and inflation has still remained just a touch below 2%.
Donald Trump was unhappy about the interest rate rise. He thinks a hike will negatively impact growth, but the Federal Reserve makes its own decisions on monetary policy.
You know, political considerations play no role whatsoever in our discussions or decisions about monetary policy. We're always going to be focused on the mission that Congress has given us We have the tools to carry it about. We have the independence, which we think is essential to be able to do our jobs in a non-political way. And we at the Fed are absolutely committed to that mission, and nothing will deter us from doing what we think is the right thing to do.
Although the Fed began raising the benchmark interest rate again 3 years ago, step by step, its counterpart in Europe, the ECB, has left it at zero since 2017. This will likely be the last hike in the U.S. for a while as well, as economic prognoses for 2019 are pessimistic. Eroding profits would make companies more dependent on credit that just grew more expensive. Stock markets in the U.S., Asia, and Europe are feeling pessimistic about the move, too. They moved into negative territory after the rise was announced.
Willy Wonka's glass elevator is getting one step closer to reality. Engineers in Germany are currently developing a lift that can travel both vertically and horizontally. According to experts, this technology will be crucial in the future as skyscrapers increasingly take over our city. Selena Sykes